Hello there, I'm Lloyd Evans. Welcome to The Bunker. It's time for another voicemail. Today's voicemail is from an anonymous caller. Let's listen to what they have to say.
Hello, Lloyd. First of all, I want to thank you so much for what you do. Your channel and work has been extremely valuable for me. My network doesn't really contain any ex-cult members, let alone ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, so the information and the sense of community here has been very, very helpful over the past couple of years. Feel free to broadcast this message, by the way. I will prefer to stay anonymous for now for reasons that would become apparent, but I think that this situation might help some others, or at least maybe hearing some feedback. So, to give you some context, I am a second generation witness. I was baptized when I was 13, one of those quote unquote good examples in the congregation that really fully believed in the truth, was very zealous. I read the Bible twice. I think it took me like a year each time. Those were bragging rights at the time. I was out in the ministry often 50, 60, 70 hours a month. Even during school, which meant after school, I'd go right in the ministry. Uh, and my father was even an elder at some point. Now, we did develop some family issues, and that even included a number of types of abuse. But we didn't, during that time, we didn't get any support from the congregation, almost nothing. Actually, we got the opposite in many cases. It's kind of a long story, so I'll move on for now. Now, about myself, I ended up starting to wake up. I think I traced it back to when I read the creation book or the evolution book. It's the blue one. I'm sure you know. And after I read it cover to cover, I just saw so much logically fallacious reasoning and so many misrepresentations of science that it just kind of irked me and tinged the impression I had of the teachings of the organization. Even with that, though, I didn't really fully wake up until about 2 years ago. So it's been a long process of probably about a decade. Now, fortunately, I live abroad and I've drifted somewhat successfully. Well, I guess I've faded so far. Um, Long story, though, so I won't go into any more detail. Um, the thing is that I'm in a committed relationship and I want my soon to be wife to meet my mom. Now, my fiance knows about the situation with the cult and has since we started dating years ago. But the thing is that because she's not a witness, I've had to keep this biggest, most important part of my life a secret from my mother. And it feels horrible for me. Um, but the thing is, because she's not a witness, I feel that it could cause some issues for obvious reasons. Now, fortunately, most of my family is not in the truth and they accept it, but I'm fed up with it and there's no reason that I should hide it. The only reason that I really have is the fear of losing this relationship with my mom for being disfellowshipped again. All right, sorry, that's another long story. Uh, Anyways, my question with all the context is as follows. Is there a possibility that I would not be disfellowshipped if I'm married to this woman? I'm going to say something regardless, but I want to know whether there's a chance I might be able to maintain some semblance of a relationship with my mother. My thought is that technically, I don't think you can be kicked out if you are married to an unbeliever, but they don't catch you doing anything unscriptural. You would not be in good standing, of course, but that's completely fine with me. Do I have a correct impression of that side of being unevenly yoked? I was never an elder, got close to being an MS, so I don't know that level of detail as far as organizational procedure, but I've done all right drifting thus far, and I'd like to think it hasn't been all for naught. So if you could give me some insight into whether that's a hope I should dismiss and just rip the band-aid off, or whether it is something that might happen, I would really appreciate your feedback. So thank you again, Lloyd. Please keep doing what you're doing, and I really hope to hear from you on this soon. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that message. I've now listened to it twice, so hopefully I've got a good grasp of what the question is. As I understand it, you are baptized but faded, and you have been dating your fiance, soon to be wife, but you've kept the relationship a secret from your mother, presumably out of fear that, I don't know, were you worried that you would be disfellowshipped for fornication? I don't know. But now you're planning on getting married, and your fear is that by getting married to someone who isn't a Jehovah's Witness, you might be disfellowshipped. If I've correctly understood your question, that's not how it works. So Jehovah's Witnesses are heavily dissuaded from getting into relationships with quote-unquote worldly people, but it's not a disfellowshipping offence. I don't even think that if it were to happen, you would be permanently considered, what's the word? Non-exemplary. That's it. You could be a Jehovah's Witness in good standing and be married to a non-Jehovah's Witness. But would you be exemplary or not? I suppose that's where it gets a little bit more murky. But simply marrying someone who isn't a Jehovah's Witness is not a grounds for, or a basis, according to the Shepherd Book, for being disfellowshipped. You do not have to worry about that. The only thing you do have to worry about are questions from Jehovah's Witnesses about your relationship or the nature of your relationship with your fiancé before getting married. So if they have any suspicions that as a baptized Jehovah's Witness, albeit a faded one, there has been fornication, you would potentially be hauled in front of a judicial committee and asked incredibly invasive questions. Even in that situation, my guess is that it would be unlikely that they would disfellowship you. Probably they would be more inclined to reprove you unless you were giving them evidence that you're not repentant for what you did. But I don't think that's what you're asking. I think you're more asking about generally getting married. Is that going to be a problem? No, it isn't. I would just strongly recommend that you get married for the right reasons. In other words, you don't get married simply so that you can have contact with your mother. It doesn't sound like that's the case. It sounds like you say, you're in a committed relationship and you care very much about your fiancé. Just make sure, which I'm confident is the case, that you're getting married for the right reasons because you love each other, and also be extremely guarded with the nature of your relationship prior to getting married from a sexual point of view, because again, they hold you accountable irrespective of whether you've faded or not, irrespective of whether you've not attended Kingdom Hall meetings for years. As long as you got baptized, which you did at 13, they believe that you are accountable to them for anything, for any of the rules, the many, many rules that they make regarding disfellowshipping. So just be incredibly incredibly guarded. Cautious as serpents, innocent as doves is an expression that I often use from the Bible, no less. In these situations, don't give them anything that they can pursue you for. But no, there's no need to worry. You should be fine getting married. hopefully you can start a new chapter in your life, and hopefully your fade can improve from here on in, because I'm sure it's incredibly challenging for single people to be faded, because there's always going to be question marks, aren't there? If there's a relationship, oh, what have you two been doing, you know? Not to mention the anxiety of introducing your partner to your believing Jehovah's Witness family and explaining to them about your background and the way you were raised and the way Jehovah's Witness culture works. All of that's going to be a nightmare. And hopefully, although I'm sure that's been challenging for you, once you're married and once your wife is, I guess, accepted in the family, hopefully it's a new beginning for you and your fade can continue and your fade can get to the point where Jehovah's Witnesses just become this distant memory, barely a blip on your radar in terms of their ability to influence your life moving forward. So I hope that helps. I hope I've correctly understood your question. Viewers, feel free to weigh in if I've misunderstood or if you viewers have anything to add. Don't forget that if you'd like to leave a voicemail, the thing to do is go to speakpipe.com/Cedars, remembering to indicate clearly if you don't want me to broadcast your message on my channel. But that's all we have time for. Thank you so much for watching.